You know what? It feels so good to be back. It feels so good to be doing the history again. Hello, folks. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the History of Professional Wrestling. I am your host, Joe Monroe, representing the Joe Monroe Show. It's baffled me that it's been almost 6 months since I did an episode. And first off, I want to thank you, the fans, who were like, when are we going to get another episode of the History of Professional Wrestling? Come on, we love that, man. And I also want to thank my wife, Libby, who was my Miss Elizabeth. She was the one that kind of pushed me to doing this again. I started this show based off, preserving professional wrestling history, and went through a dark time there for a moment with a passing in my family. Majority of the fans know what I'm talking about. And I want to appreciate everyone who has helped me dig out of this, get back on track, because guess what week it is? It is Mania week. We are super excited. And for the first time ever, we're going to be talking about a brief history of WrestleMania. But first, I want to give a big shout out to some folks I work with. I want to give a big shout out to my friends at the Wrestling Society Network. That's right, WSN. You need to check this out, all right? This is an app and a website. For one, it's free, and for two, it's built by wrestling fans for professional wrestling fans. This is our streaming service for you all. This is something that everyone can enjoy. And even non-wrestling fans, there's films on there that you'd probably be like, well, I didn't know a wrestler was in that film, but I've seen it, and it's pretty freaking good. Which we may be coming out with a show based on that soon. Wink, wink. Anyways, big shout out to them. If you want to check us out, check out the Wrestling Society Network at WrestlingSociety.com, which is right here. Or you can go to our app by searching WSN. That's right, you just have to search WSN and it pops right up. It's on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, Fire Stick. I always thought Amazon and Fire Stick was the same thing, but apparently not. But if you have any of those, go download the app. It's 100% free. And if you're going to the WrestlingSociety.com, please go ahead and sign up for free as well. That way you can get notified. Let's go ahead and let's get back to the history. All right, so the way I'm going to do this, you're probably thinking, geez Louise, Joe, how are you going to go through almost 40 plus years of WrestleManias? Well, since, Mania's year around, we're going to do this kind of once a year type deal. This is going to be kind of a special. So today we're going to focus on the first three WrestleManias and how it has impacted not only the wrestling business, but for the future fate of WrestleManias. Because trust me, the first three are very, very good starting points. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So WrestleMania 1, how that rolls around, Vince McMahon had the bright idea to pull out a very big spectacle. That's right, one big wrestling event, not only for wrestling fans, but for people who want to be entertained. He had the likes of Muhammad Ali, Cyndi Lauper, heck, even Liberace showed up for this thing as a special timekeeper with the Rockettes. And it was just going to be this big, giant wrestling, sports entertainment event. God, I hate saying sports entertainment, but that's what it was. It was strictly sports entertainment. And I got to give kudos to Vince McMahon. Though you may have some not so nice feelings about him nowadays, he brought up something that a mad scientist, dare I say, would have to think up. And if it would have went wrong for him, the landscape of not only the WWE, or known as the WWF back then, but the whole professional wrestling landscape would change. It would be so different. But thankfully it did not, because one big thing that helped WrestleMania 1 was the promotion. You had the era of rock and wrestling kind of starting up around this time. And thanks to Mr. T being involved in the main event, him and Hogan were able to go on late night shows like Saturday Night Live, late night talk shows, even though, Hogan ended up getting into a lawsuit over that one, but I digress. But they were able to do this promotion. Plus, you had Cyndi Lauper, who was a big wrestling fan, who was with Wendy Richter at the time. Just all these things were just firing off on all cylinders, and it made something that seemed impossible possible. Also, I want to mention this. Every title was on the line except for the heavyweight title. That's right. The very first WrestleMania, the WWF Heavyweight Championship was not defended. Why? Because Hogan and Mr. T, along with, Snuka as like a special manager, went up against Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff with Cowboy Bob Orton in their corner. Now, I know that sounds insane, but it was WrestleMania. To that, I think it adds more to how special the first one was, because it didn't necessarily need a heavyweight title match within its main event. What makes you think WrestleMania 1 was special, or what made it special? Let me know in the comments below. But Mania 2, let's just move on. All right, Mania 2 was trying so hard to follow up with the success of WrestleMania 1 or WrestleMania, whatever, that Vince went total overboard with it. For one, he wanted to host WrestleMania 2 at 3 different places. We're talking about in California, one in Illinois, and one in New York. We'll mention the names and stuff here in just a second. And for that, even for it being in the 80s, I think this was 86, you got to be nuts, because you got people not only watching at home, those who could watch, but you also had people watching on closed circuit television, which for all you kids that don't know what that is, it's a group of people go to like their local gym or local theater, they put it on a projector, and boom, you can watch the pay-per-view. Not PLE, pay-per-view. When did they change that? Premium live event. Pay-per-view just sounds a lot better. Never mind. But they had it at, let me get my notebook here. They were held in Uniondale, New York, which is the Nassau Coliseum, Rosemont, Illinois at the Rosemont Horizon, and Los Angeles, California at the LA Memorial Sports Arena. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Like way over there. And within those cities, there was these main events. And the main event at the Rosemont was the British Bulldogs going up against the Dream Team. At the Uniondale, it was the boxing match. Yes, I'm putting that in quotations. Mr. T going up against Rowdy Roddy Piper. And in Los Angeles, you had the steel cage match with Hogan defending the WWF title against King Kong Bundy. And to make things even more weirder, this was done on a Monday. Not a Saturday or a Sunday like we're used to nowadays. It was done on a Monday. Sadly, I just recently figured that out before recording this video, but hey, whatever. But Vince they had so much technical issues with this, and he said, I will never again do this, which thank goodness he didn't. Because if he would have kept on doing 3 different cities for just one event, it would have ruined him. But thankfully, Mania 3 rolled around. Mania 3 thankfully went back to one venue, which is, let me see here. Oh yeah, Pontiac, Michigan. Guess where? The Pontiac Silverdome. God, I hate Hogan. But it finally went to the Pontiac Silverdome. Notable matches is Rowdy Roddy Piper going up against Adrian Adonis in a hair versus hair match. Probably one of the best WrestleMania matches. Macho Man Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth going up against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who had George the Animal Steel on his side for the Intercontinental title. This match was basically the match that everyone looked at and went, I want to be a professional wrestler, because this was freaking awesome. You can even watch this match on mute, and Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage tore the house down. And let's not forget the main event, Hulk Hogan going up against Andre the Giant, which nobody would have thought in a million years that Andre the Giant would have turned heel. And thank God for Piper's Pit, because that was awesome. But the build up to these matches, I mean, from Piper destroying the flower shop to Ricky Steamboat and Savage just going at it within the weeks following, and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant's build up. This right here was WrestleMania done right. If this is not top 5, pun intended, it's 100% top 3 manias of all time. And this right here, this mania, I believe, and I also think professional wrestling fans can agree, solidified the fate of WrestleMania. Now, the reason I said that, look at the first two. First two was a gamble. Okay, it went pretty good. Second one was kind of a bomb. The third one was boom. This is what we need. This is the formula we need to follow. And from then on, they followed that formula. Now, has there been some hit or misses with manias? Yes, there has. I mean, let's not forget the mania with Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter, where they had to change the venue because Slaughter was a bad guy and it was in the middle of Desert Storm, and it was just not good for everybody. And let's also not forget when Taker lost the streak to Brock Lesnar. Nothing against Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, that's a black eye to wrestling. But, you know, some will disagree, some will agree. But WrestleMania, what does it mean? What does it mean to a wrestling fan? WrestleMania is a professional wrestling fan's Super Bowl. It's a professional wrestling fan's NBA Finals. It's a professional wrestling fan's World Series. This is our time to shine. And thankfully, with social media and everything going as well today in the world today, except for ticket prices, people are able to sit down and enjoy it together. I mean, for crying out loud, this Mania coming up this weekend, I'm kind of excited for. I know people are booing the triple threat match with Ripley and them in it, but I'm excited for that. That's going to be a great match. The triple threat between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, going to be a great match. Cody defending the title against John Cena, I personally think is going to be a great match. Now, what WrestleMania means to me? Let me share a story with you. 2005. No, 6. It's 2006. I speak about my grandfather sometimes on this channel. He was very sick. He battled cancer for 20 plus years. The only time I've ever seen this man move quick is one when he accidentally lit a cigarette on an oxygen tank. And yeah, he moved pretty quick on that one. But the other time was, I know I give him heck on my show, but Hulk Hogan showed up at Mania 21 to save Eugene. And that man, my grandfather, moved as if he was struck by lightning, but in a good way. He was happy. The joy he had in his eyes watching this guy just, Hogan being Hogan. And then he looks at me and he goes, "Now, son, that's a wrestler." I mean, he didn't know what we all know now, but yeah. That's what Mania, and dare I say, that's what wrestling means to me. Taking moments like that, because that memory right there will always live in the back of my mind. I think about it almost every day. And honestly, that's what made me a wrestling fan. And that's what WrestleMania means to me. So my question is to you, the fans. What does WrestleMania mean to you? Let me know in the comments below. If you can, go check out the Wrestling Society Network. Also, go check out the Joe Monroe Show and the Wrestling Society Network on all of our social media outlets. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be on the lookout. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have another episode of the History of Professional Wrestling where we're going to talk about none other than Miss Elizabeth. And I'm even going to talk about the Miss Elizabeth exhibit that I was able to go to. Thank you. Always support professional wrestling, but if you're going to be a troll, shut up and enjoy professional wrestling. Not gonna lie, that was That last part was a little hard, but miss that old man.